Hi everyone, welcome to another HTA and Associates growth strategy session on our webinar. We'll just give it a couple more minutes. We've got quite a high attendance rates and it takes a wee while for everyone to jump in. So if you just hang fire, pour yourself a glass of water. We'll give it about 30 seconds to a minute while we wait for everyone to jump in. Still coming in, which is cool. There's a few more coming in. Just give it about 30 more seconds, guys. That's the numbers still keep ticking up. Okie dokie, we might just get started. The attendees are still coming in, but we'll get started on the sort of admin side anyway, and any late comers will catch up with the content. So again, welcome guys. Well done on making time to come to this webinar today. Hamish Turner Associates, we're really proud to be bringing this to you. We want to do a few more of these throughout the year. For those of you who don't know, we do have an HTA membership program, and we do these monthly for our members. And they're really informative, and we always bring in guest speakers as well and try to keep things fairly topical. Today's webinar is all about strategies to keep your business growth firing over winter. And I've heard some great stories out there already over the winter that things are still firing along nicely. So we're pretty excited to bring and share some of those strategies with you today. Okay. So my name's Manoli. For those of you who don't know me, I own Malloch McClean, which is a chartered accounting and business mentor firm. We do a lot of business coaching. We do a lot of valuations for property management companies, and we also do obviously accounting. I'll be a moderator, so I'm going to take care of all the questions and ask those questions of our panelists at the end of the session. So please ask as many questions as you can. Just around the Zoom webinar, because some of you probably came when we were using GoTo webinar. The Zoom webinar is slightly different, so you can find your speakers here. So I'm circling that with the mouse because if you can't hear me, it's not going to be too good for you. But this is where you actually find your speakers. Under the mute button there, you'll find the speakers, and you'll be able to change speakers if you can't hear us. There'll be no videos on for the attendees today, but the panelists will turn our videos on at the end of the session. The big thing though, guys, is this Q&A. So in your control panel, you'll see this Q&A button here. We really want you to use that. Ask any question. No question's a silly question. We will not name and shame you. So we'll just ask the question. And if you're thinking it, other people will too. So we've got pretty big attendance here today, and lots registered that want to see the recording afterwards. So please ask those questions as we go along. It's really important, and it's where you get the most value out of today. So who have we got? I'll do a fairly formal introduction this time. We've got Hamish Turner. Obviously, Hamish Turner's name's on the door. Hamish has got a extensive background in property management. He's owned and operated his own property management business. He's expanded that into franchise type arrangements, and he's sold them. And now, more recently, Hamish Turner is probably New Zealand's premier rent roll broker. So great to have him on board. He's sort of been there, done that here in New Zealand and in Australia. So he's got a wealth of knowledge. We've got David Turnhout. David's been a property manager and a BDM in his own right. He worked with Hamish at rented.co.nz. So he's won heaps of awards in the business development space. Now, David heads up the HTA and Associates banner and is effectively the general manager there and works alongside a heap of property managers around the country. If you follow him on LinkedIn, he's always in some random town at random different times of the year doing stuff and helping property managers. You got myself, my specialties around business coaching and mentoring, business planning and strategy and valuations. And then we're really lucky today to have Nick Elliottyson from Lodge City Rentals. And she's a top property manager and leading agent. She won an award around this in 2020 and 2021. And then she got a promotion in November 2020 to business development manager. And this is a reflection of her work ethic and her dedication to providing the highest level of customer service. Feedback from property owners and investors confirms Nick's commitment to her job, with her customers praising her responsiveness and her desire to act on behalf of owners and tenants. So we're really excited to hear Nick's story and some tips and tricks from her. So please, again, ask questions and we'll get them answered for you. And I'm genuinely really excited around hearing from Nick today. Thanks for coming on. Now, the agenda for today, guys. So this is a pretty standard format. So we thought we'd keep the format very similar to what our HTA membership program webinars are about, so that you get a bit of a feel for it as well. What I'll do is I'll do a bit of a mindset, and I'm going to do a thing called my 10 must-dos. Then I'm going to pass over to Nick, and Nick's going to talk about her experiences and tips and tricks. Then we're going to go over to David, and he's going to do very similar. And then Hamish, we end on Hamish, and then we get into sort of next steps and questions. So we'll hold the questions to the end. It's a bit more of an efficient way to do it. And but please do ask as many questions as you can. All right. So my 10 must-dos. Now, some of you guys that are HTA members would have seen this probably, I think it was 3 or 4 webinars ago. But it's just such a great top 10 list, and it's one that I often reflect on when things aren't going too well. I go back to this list and start thinking about what I could be doing different. What happens in life is that we actually just start drifting away from the habits and the actions and behaviors that we know that works, because we get busy or swamped or pushed down sort of another channel. So it's really, really good to come back to this. Now, number 1 on my list is to be clear on your target market. You don't want to waste time selling to customers who aren't a good fit. So be really, really clear. Be quite narrow in who your target market is. What do they look like? What's their persona? Where do they hang out? Who do they talk to? Where do they network? Those sorts of things. Be really, really clear, because I can assure you we don't want anyone with a heartbeat and a wallet. We want to be really clear on who our ideal sort of client or customer is. So be really clear on that, on who your target market is. Sure, if you get someone who comes into the door and it doesn't seem to be a person in your target market, but they're a good person, you still work with them. But number 1, be clear on who you are targeting. Number 2, articulate your value in 1 sentence. The value is what matters the most to your customers here. So you need to get in the eyes of your customer. What is the value to them? And you need to be able to articulate that in 1 sentence. You need to be able to, and this comes back to a thing called your why, or why do you do what you do? Look up Simon Sinek video, The Golden Circle, Your Why. It's a fantastic little short video. But this is really about articulating what you do, what value do you bring. At HTA we're all about empowering property management, the whole sector, and that's what we're trying to do. So be really clear on your target market and articulate your value in 1 sentence. Do this with your team. Sit down and do a bit of a mind map of what value do you actually bring. We did this recently in our business, and now we've got it getting it printed, all over our walls, because it was just such a cool exercise. Number 3, commit to what you promise. Never underestimate the value of follow through. It speeds up the sale and it builds credibility. And I can't sort of, put emphasis on this enough. Commit to what you promise. So if you say you're going to ring someone back tomorrow, do it. Some people have it on their phone messages that I'll ring you back within the next 2 hours, or I'll ring you back before the end of the day. When I worked at ASB many years ago, we had this sunset clause that we would never let a phone call sort of sit out there overnight. You had to get back in contact with people that day. And I just think it's a really good philosophy, really. So commit to what you promise, do it, follow up. The more you do it, the more the better it is. And then it comes into have a system and stick to it. So we use a system called HubSpot, which helps us with this. And so it sort of takes away a little bit of the human mistake of not following up or not getting back to people in a timely manner. It's a little bit more automated. But if you don't have an automated system, make sure you book a meeting from a meeting, and so you'll put it in your calendar to contact someone the next day or call them. Set alarms on your phone so it'll go off at the time when you need to be calling someone. There's a whole lot of different ways you can do this, but use a system and stick to it. Number 5, remember to ask, not tell. Now, we did a session in the HTA membership program around you need to ask at least 5 to 6 questions before you start telling people what you do. So ask, don't tell. If you ask and you're genuinely interested in people and their response and their issues and their problems that you're going to solve, then this is a really easy thing to do. So remember, if you're sitting there telling people really early on in a conversation what you do, you've probably lost the battle there. So ask lots of questions. It comes from a place of caring. Number 6, focus on the benefits, not the features. Now, this is a real classic one. When you ask a lot of questions, like in number 5, you're going to hear a lot of words, emotive words from people. You're going to hear words that will say, I don't have the time, or to manage my property. I went through a tribunal experience. I never want to do that again. We can't find the right tenant. So what you're doing there is you're going to focus on those benefits of using your service around the words that they've used and throw them back at you, rather than you saying, we're the best, we've got the best systems and all of those sorts of things, which is features that you have. Redo it and work around the benefits that it is in it for them. So that's the WIIFM, what's in it for me. So think about it, what's in it for your potential customer. Number 7, establish the value before quoting the price. So this is about sort of getting a conceptual agreement around the value. So, the example of someone that went to the tribunal. So you lost a heap of time, you lost money, you didn't get the right tenant. What sort of value is that to you if you were to if we were to take you on as a client? And that, get them to articulate, well, that would be worth so much. I spent so much money on that, etc. So try to establish the value before you quote your price, rather than just saying we're a 7% or 8% management fee. Really work on the value. The next one is offer options. So some people have, I know out there in the property management, have the fixed fee, straight 10% or whatever it might be. Others have a tiered system. But if you do give people a series of options to say yes, you're more likely to get them to say yes. So have a bit of a series of options or add-ons, etc. It'd be great to have that all-inclusive option for people, so they just go, I can budget on that. It is what it is. You do all my letting, you do all my maintenance, you do all my inspections, and I don't have any extra costs that come in. Others will be a bit more pedantic and want to go, well, I'll just pay for those as you do them. But give people that series of options. And then the next one is key to sales is focus on the relationship, not the sale. So it might take you a few interactions before the customer is ready to buy from you. So if you think about that, what we do in our accounting practice, for example, is before anyone gets an invoice from us and they're a new client, we send them a plant. It's a welcome to Malloch McClean plant, and looking forward to growing together with you, etc., etc. And the reason why we do that is because I don't want the first interaction or the first thing that someone gets from us is an invoice. I'd rather it be a gift. So focus on the relationship. And a relationship is something that always takes time. It's something that's earned, and it's a few interactions. So even sending someone a property management magazine or something like that just out of the blue is a fantastic thing to build that relationship with someone. And the last one is under promise and over deliver. We always want to exceed customers' expectations. This is really critical. And under this banner, I'm a big fan of you guys, especially property managers, doing a value register of all the little things that you do. And I was working with a property management firm last week, and they're like, we wrote down all these things that people had done for their owners. And I said, how many of you had articulated that back to your owners? And no one had, nothing. People were cleaning behind ovens and changing out fridges and changed the letterbox and just little things that they'd done along the way, got some keys cut, all of the stuff that we take for granted. It's actually value to an owner or a tenant. So keeping a register of all those little things that you do, including that register in your quarterly inspection reports, is critical. I think it's just such a good way to be able to reinforce the value and all the small things that you do for people. So they're my top 10 must-dos. And if we're thinking about the winter when things are a little bit slower and hard to see people and all those sorts of things, just come back to this list and go, what are we doing now? What aren't we doing, and what could we do? It's just such a really neat little list to fall back on. All right, so enough from me. We're going to bring Nick in now. So Nick, if you could unmute yourself. Cool. And I'll put your slide up. And welcome, Nick, and thank you for joining us. And I'll leave it over to you, and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Manoli. Some really good top 10 tips and tricks. So definitely some things to think about there. Right, so I'm Nick Elliottyson, Business Development Manager for Lodge City Rentals, as introduced by Manoli. My background previous to my 4 years with Lodge is in hospitality, so owning and running bars and restaurants. So when we got out, which was probably a really fortunate time, it was just a really good move and made sense to sort of, I guess, transfer those skills, those hospitality skills over into a property management role. So that's been a really great transition for me. Okay, top strategies. So the first one is building your brand awareness. Don't be afraid to engage a PR company. So there's some things that we're really good at as property managers, business development managers. For me, one of those things is not brand awareness or marketing. So we've hired some professionals who specialise in it to help us out. What we've done here is we've been really successful with billboard campaigns. So we've called a bit of call to action, make the switch to Lodge on some really high profile billboards throughout Hamilton. That's generated a lot of business, a lot of phone calls, a lot of brand awareness, a lot of even engagement with other companies. People will pick up the phone, they'll give me a call and say, hey Nick, I've seen you up on the billboard. What's your success rate been? How's this working for you? So that's been really key for our brand awareness there. Keeping our finger on the pulse just to adapt and change where needed, in particular working with our PR company. We've recently added 120 units in South Auckland. We were sort of using our same old strategy of our Facebook marketing, our Instagram, our LinkedIn, and we were just having no engagement. And so we had to quickly pull the pin on that, say, hey, this isn't working. we need to fill these rooms, and not through our usual social media platforms. So we had to drop our social marketing and move to Google Word optimization. So as soon as that kicked in, then we had really good sort of growth and engagement and inquiries for those units. So that was great. Another great thing that our PR company does for us is we do walkthroughs of some of our new managed listings or some of our properties that are sort of sticking that we need to boost engagement or interest with. Those videos we do free of charge they're just basic videos we do free of charge for the owners. And the reason we do that is it's going on our social media platforms and it's still increasing our brand awareness. So we have really good engagement through those video walkthroughs. Part of our growth plan was spreading to our outlying communities. So we kind of realised that we're in a unique position in Hamilton where we've got some really good towns on the outskirts that may not be getting as serviced as well as they could by property management companies. So we saw it as a real a real challenge to try and break through into those markets. And that's not through the use of our traditional how we would market to our Hamilton community. So we've done some flyer drops out there, and then just exploring things like school newsletters, sports grounds. A billboard's not going to work in a small town, so it's adapting and changing the way that we're marketing and building brand awareness according to our target market there. Okay, next strategy is take the leap to employ a dedicated growth person. So that's obviously worked really well for us. I guess I'm in a good position to say, hey, employ a BDM. I guess from my perspective of coming from being a property manager and then just working alongside Jason, our general manager, is I guess I fall into that middle ground where I'm bringing on new business, working with the property managers to transfer the new business over to their portfolios, but also acting as a stepping stone for those owners that they have somebody to go to if things aren't quite going the way that we've discussed or going the way that we've planned. And it's really good to keep those relationships with the new business. And I guess it's also taking away the GM has so much responsibility, and just to have those phone calls from new managers if things aren't sort of going the way it could be. I think that adding that second layer is really helpful. I guess in the past we've tried to sort of go, okay, PMs, I guess bringing on growth doesn't always work because we're expecting them to have it's a completely different job and different role. So it's a specialised function. We believe that a PM can't be a dedicated growth person. The handover to a PM from the business development manager needs to be a really transitional one. We do a one-pager, so I'll write down all the specifics about the new manage, about the type of owner that we've got, specifics about the property, things that we've discussed, and then once the property's up and advertised, I'll do an email introduction to the owner and the property manager and hand it over like that too for a smooth transition. I'll cover all the healthy homes and just keep an eye on the portfolios of the property managers just to make sure the size and spread and capabilities that we're not growing those portfolios too fast in terms of missing customer service for the new owner. Okay, have a growth plan. So we can't grow without targets. So we've got a target for new managers per month, a detailed plan, how many calls I've got to make per week, how many visits I've got to make per week, how many development sites I'm going to per week, per month, what developers am I working with, what trade me listings am I calling. There's some really, I find we get quite good traction off the people that are going through myrent.co.nz or the private landlords. You'll call them and they'll have lots of problems and same thing, they can't get good tenants. So it's a really sort of easy, I guess, easy tip to be calling those people to grow the portfolio. Build on your relationships with both affiliated and non-affiliated sales agents. This is one of my favourite parts of the job. A lot of my growth comes from sales agents, would say just under 30% of that. And it doesn't come just through, like, obviously we've got affiliated sales team, but you do have to work on those relationships because the sales teams are busy and you're not their number one priority. So the way I do this is I go around to their sales cycle meetings. So every week I'll call into a different office just to share some market tips, what's happening in the rental market. Another tip for the agents is be the experts for them. They're often talking to people, they're giving rental appraisals somehow, they're negotiating things like access with tenants, a notice for vacant possession, all sorts of things like that, even healthy homes conversations. So if you can be the expert where they're going, oh, hey, I'm not really sure what I'm talking about, I'll give Nick a call. That's been a really good platform for me. I take them morning tea. I do a quarterly cycle where I'll go and shout morning tea. Last time I went to one of the offices and shouted morning tea, one of the agents had keys to a property on his desk. I don't know how long they'd been there for. Hey, Nick, I've got a property for you. It was an immaculate property. We had it rented out within a week and it was just from, I'm not quite sure what would have happened to those keys if I hadn't have been in the office at that time. Appraisals, I do all the way our company's structured. I do every single sales appraisal that comes through, which keeps me busy, but we just have a one pager through Property Suite that comes through. So I put a figure on it, but it's got all of my details and all of my, my information and all of our property management information. So that's been really good as well because that goes out in their packs. So investors get that. So they're picking up the phone, hey, I've seen your appraisal. Can we talk? Which has been good. So I guess make it easy for the sales team to trust you as the expert and give you a call. Non-affiliated as well, there's plenty of non-affiliated business. I work with a few companies in Auckland that are selling some of our bigger developments here, and they just want somebody on the ground for their local experts so that they can say, hey, they ask me for appraisals, I can meet their investors on site as well and take the investors through the properties if they can't get here. And yeah, just I guess be their expert in Hamilton for them. Finally, get your property managers on board with your growth plan and incentivise new managements. So what we've found is PMs have to be on board with our growth plan. And this includes, we've got to make it easy for them to want to take on new properties. I went to, I think it was your conference, Hamish, where the lady from Rentwell, she was sort of saying, oh, you walk in with these new managers and the property managers sort of have their heads down and, oh my goodness, we're so busy. And they are busy. So it's how to make it easy for them, make it attractive for them, have everything ready for them in terms of healthy homes, the handover sheet. We incentivise with a let fee, so they're going to have a good let fee for taking on that property. Don't sort of overgrow their portfolio. I keep an eye on how many lettings people have been doing, how many properties they've got available, what their portfolio size is. And yeah, then I sort of, and also I guess it's matching the right property manager for the right owner as well, which is really important for me. So I just identifying people that would work really well and really harmoniously together. And the property managers are on board with our growth plan and our growth targets. And there's an incentive for, we've got a final sort of, well, not a final, but a big growth target to get to, and all of our property managers are on board with that. So, and really excited about growing the business too. Okay, that's me.
Thanks, Nick. That was awesome. There's some lots of great stuff there to for people to latch onto, and there's a few questions coming through, so that's great. Right, we will pass on to David now, and I'll just flick your slide over, David, and you're unmuted, so you're good to go.
Thanks, Manoli. It's great. Yeah, the upside of a slow month or a season is that you can normally predict it and put some annual action plans in place to help reverse any slower periods. So the first strategy I've got there is office-wide new business calls. This is a great activity to do over the slower periods. Essentially, the whole property management team sets aside time during the week where everyone in the office makes new business calls. So that could even be just ringing existing owners, but definitely prospective leads as well. It's all done at the same time, and you can make it maybe even more fun and shout some sushi or pizzas or maybe some donuts while the whole team's doing that. Over the winter, ensure that you've got extra funds set aside in your marketing budget so that you can spend more on your social media content, and therefore be able to boost posts and run such things as competitions. It's also a great time to increase video content, which can also help your SEO footprint. Also, just try using the hashtags, terms like winter and cold, or chilly and cozy, on your social media posts or videos. When you do this, you'll get more traction with your posts, as people can see that you've targeted the season specifically there. So that's worth a go. Maybe you've just come through a busy summer season and now have some time to do some calls and set up some coffee catch-ups with referrers and leads you haven't caught up with for a while. So it's a great time to follow up on those follow-up calls you have been putting off. And when you're doing that, I'd put some goals or KPIs in place, maybe something like 10 calls before 10 a.m. each day, just to make sure you're getting them done. Landlord information nights are a sure way to gain some new business, and definitely one of our favourite ways to increase new business leads over the winter. The marketing leading up to the event is great for your brand awareness, and the in-person catch-ups they're really gold for meeting existing clients as well as gaining new points of contact. Along the same lines as the free webinar. Free webinar is just a great tool for both contacting and educating existing clientele and developing those new business leads as well. Referral promotion, as mentioned, wintertime is a great time to get in touch with those existing referrers, but also to start working with some new contacts. So you could try a referral promotion, like it could be refer a friend and receive a Prezi voucher. And just start building up your referrer base. All else fails, maybe try planning a holiday. You can almost guarantee the week or the day before you leave, you have an abundance of new leads come in. Next slide, please, Manoli. Just in case you haven't seen this advertised, we've got a BDM Complete Day on Friday, the 12th of August in Nelson. So lots of great strategies and techniques on how to build a rent roll and how to grow a rent roll in New Zealand. So if you want to know more about that, please get in touch. We've got 3 spots left to fill. So yeah, do get in touch if you want to come down to Nelson. And I'll just put a plug in for our growth membership, just on the next slide, please, Manoli. Yeah, lots of benefits with our growth membership. Probably some of the main ones are the one-on-one coaching that we have with our members, and we look at, what goals they're trying to achieve and how they're tracking against them. We've also got a resource centre with business scripts, even work descriptions on there. You get access to our past webinars as well as our monthly webinars that we have upcoming as well. Podcasts, there's also discounts on some products as well. So that's just some of the things, but if you're interested in our growth membership, definitely make contact. And that's me over and out. Thanks, Manoli.
Great. And Hamish, if you could unmute yourself. One of the big things that we have done is the annual survey as well, which is just really valuable for people. We've got Hamish on board now.
Yeah, just on the surveys. Yeah, I've got that noted down too, which I'll talk about briefly. But welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. I've just got a couple of things there. The points that I made before on the slide there, I added a whole bunch of other ones as I was sort of sitting here thinking about what we do in winter. But the main one is to offer promos and make them really relevant. And you can see there I've got 3 different promos. So the gutter clean or water blasting is relevant to so when I'm talking about gutter cleaning or water blasting, in terms of sign-on management with our company before the end of July, and we will pay for your property to have its gutters cleaned, or you could have a water blast of the roof or the concreted areas, or just something specific to winter. So that's why I've got that there. You could have a travel promotion. So it could be a voucher towards some travel in winter. Does help because it puts focus on traveling to whether it's somewhere warmer or just travel in general. During winter, we tend to become a bit like mushrooms, or so it's just nice to sort of put the focus on travel. And then movie tickets I've got there as well, something inside that you can do to get out of the weather. I know certainly in Australia, in a previous role, then gold class movie tickets were a thing where you sort of get two persons, tickets and some food and for a management referral or a new management coming in. Again, I like to work in these promotions with deadlines. So, signing on a management by X date, or you don't want to leave it too short or too long. So sort of 30 days is quite good, or in line with the end of a month. The other points that aren't on that slide there, which I've been jotting down as I've been just sort of listening, is the surveys are a really good way of growth strategy. So currently we've just finalised our HTA members survey to learn from our members what we're doing what our members would like to see done differently, or things that we could add in, just simple things like the day and time that we do webinars, are they the best in terms of the group that we've got? So we're just doing that at the moment. We do an annual survey, which is a bit different, which is across lots of principles, and that's a good way of getting engagement and also sharing that information with people that have done it. Winter is the quietest quarter, so doing sort of in-house, what I call housekeeping is quite a good or opportune time to do that. So reviewing of your database or CRM and tidying it. I've been doing a lot of that myself recently. Newsletter templates, whether you're doing newsletters or not, you can set up a template or do 3 newsletters at once. By doing that, it just there's a lot of legwork involved in terms of bringing the content together on a HTA resource library. We've got loads and loads of articles and content that you can use, but there still needs the time to put the individual templates together. Running a free webinar like we're doing today for higher engagement. So this is a really, really good example of engaging with a wider audience. This is exactly what we're doing. We tend to do a one larger free webinar per annum as a minimum, and this is an exact example. And the persons that are on today are not ones that we engage with on a monthly basis that are part of our membership, but a wider network today. So another example, short videos on a regular basis during winter. Again, you can be inside and adding and talking about winter specific ideas for your property, things that you can be doing to achieve higher rents in terms of improving property. One other thing I've got here is, there are other income streams, for example, or services that you could be providing clients for engagement. So we've just that BDM Complete day, which David was just talking about briefly. We set that up just more recently, where we do a full day's BDM training. So that's for both new and existing BDMs or principals that are wanting to spend a full day on training of business development. So we're also embarking on adding on a recruitment arm. So I'm flying over to see a recruitment specialist that I've worked with in the property management industry. I'm flying over to Australia in about 3 weeks, and I'm spending a couple of days with chap there. I know, so that winter's a good time to be embarking on these new or different strategies for growth. So that's me. I'll just thank you for joining in today, and I'll hand the reins back over to Manoli.
Thanks, Hamish. Excellent. All right, guys, we are getting to the end of the webinar. We're pretty much bang on time, which is great. Your next steps, you need to take the content that you've received today and make a bit of a plan. And you need to think about your business and what actions you need to do following this webinar. Make sure you share all the knowledge from this webinar with your team. So we'll be sending this webinar out, excuse me, and get in contact with HTA. Even if you're not a member, engage with us. We've got so many resources. If you want scripts, if you want marketing content, if you want job descriptions, if you want anything, there's 4,000 odd bits of resources in the portal. So just get in touch with us. Love to hear from you, and David would love to hear how you're going and whatever way we can support you. We have got a range of services and things here. If you're from support from HTA, if you're a member, but if you're not a member, just get in touch with us. We do lots of health checks and business planning sessions. This is the great time. We do marketing planning sessions. We do whole heap of things. And a lot of the stuff that we do can be funded up to 50% through the regional partners network. So the best thing to do is just to get in touch with us, and we can do a proposal up, see if we can get some funding, and then we can get into some work with you guys. All right, now we're into the Q&A. So if I could get all the panelists to unmute yourselves, that would be great. And I've got a question here for Nick. Nick, how busy are you right now?
Yeah, it has been absolutely crazy, and I've come off 2 really big months. This month was just a slight drop, but what I'm finding is a lot of accidental landlords because of the housing market. What we're having is people who were intending to sell holding instead of selling, and then becoming accidental landlords. So looking to rent out their properties for the foreseeable future until whatever the market is comes back to where they wanted it to be to sell their property.
Cool. And just sort of growing on that one, your growth plan, what sort of stuff do you have in there?
Okay, so that's where we've got, I think I covered it, but maybe I think I covered a lot. It was our targets. So I guess in terms of our growth plan, what we do to grow, what we keep on doing to grow, whether it's how many calls that we're making to our database, how many conversions we're getting from our appraisals. Part of our growth plan, we've just revised our management agreements, as I think somebody you touched on, with some of those options in terms of a dollar growth. So where we can still be flexible, but we've got sort of a lot more add-ons now as well to grow.
Great. And so when you're setting your targets and stuff, is it you just want to grow 10% or something, or are you sort of saying we just want 100 managements this year, or? Yeah,
so it is year on year. So we're growing year on year and month on month. So I mean, I guess I keep track of where we're growing month on month, but we kind of, I guess, collate it quarterly as well. So because sometimes a lot of my work can go in before, as we all know, we do a lot of work before the conversion to get the new managers. So we do that. And for me, I base it on the number of managers, but it's easily converted into a percentage as well.
Yeah, great. It's perfect. I'll turn my camera on. Everyone's turning their cameras on. That's good. Just got a question here. What do you offer real estate salespeople if they give you a referral?
Yeah, so we do offer them a referral fee, and it is a cash payment.
Yeah.
Cool.
And what about David? Have you done that before as well?
Yeah, lots of different examples of that. Sometimes it's a week's rents, sometimes it's set amounts, but definitely sometimes the things that work the best is a customized gift. If you know that real estate agent really well, I mean, there might be a bit of a cash referral, but you also give them a personalized gift. It could be a hamper or maybe movie tickets or vinyl if they're into music. So yeah, the personalized gifts work really well.
Hamish, what about you?
Yeah, I'm the same with Dave. Like the personalised gifts, you're getting into someone's heart, right? You know what they're, whether they're a brunch person or they like flowers. Or there's one chap that I used to, when I was in New Plymouth, that used to love bourbon. So every time he referred me a property, I'd give him a top shelf bourbon. There was once he referred me six units, and I got him 6 bottles of bourbon. So, and that was better than cash. And then that's how most people are too. Some people are a bit awkward around cash, but others are not. So it's almost like you have a spend budget, and whether it's cash or a gift, depending on that individual. And then how do you keep up with that too? You just need to keep spreadsheets or have things noted in your, like for example with my contact list, like whenever, so in Manoli you're in there and you're a long macchiato, I know that, so because I can't remember what coffee you have in that, but simple things like that, very, very easy to, long macchiato. Yeah. So same thing with referral gifts, you can keep it really simple. Loves lilies, loves Christmas lilies, or very, very simple. Nick, can I ask Nick, what are you allowed to tell us what amount that you pay your salespeople? Are you comfortable talking about that?
Yeah, that's fine. So ours work a little bit different, and I find cash works really well with our salespeople. With developers and developer referrals, I do the same as you, whether I know that they drink bourbon. I had one big developer, when I met him, I knew him anyway, but he hands me his stuff, and that often comes through a sales agent in Auckland as well. But I bought a bottle of champagne, and he was just like, nobody ever thinks to give me champagne. And it's because I think that perception of, maybe they're doing really well or they're well off, like, why would they appreciate? But that appreciation for that bottle of champagne was just, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I guess in terms of that sales referral and our system, we have quite robust administrative systems that the referral kind of goes through, and it goes through into the sales bank account, but it goes through as just a lump sum. So we pay $350 a referral.
Yep.
And that's inclusive of GST, and it definitely, my agents will be, how we pay it is, and just to make sense from the back of house, is that we pay it the month after we start getting the first week's rent, and that's just so we're not paying a referral that maybe hasn't worked out.
So it's results based.
Yeah. So that's how it works, and I guess.
So it's all cash flow, around cash flow too, because the living fee comes in. So yeah, good.
Yeah.
That's great. We have got a couple of questions that we answered during the webinar, but get in touch with David. They're around examples of remuneration for BDMs. We've got all that. David and Hamish have got that in the resources. And someone else wanted to know about a sort of like a handover checklist from BDM to PM. And again, David's got something there that we'll be able to share with you. So get in touch. I've got one question, because it sounds like you get quite a few good referrals there, Nick. How do you keep in touch with the referrer and let them know? Do you sort of let weeks go by and then all of a sudden they get their $300, or do you keep in contact with them regularly?
No, I do, and it is a manual job. So I mean, I just had one come through my phone when I was here. So it's an agent that's just saying, "Hey, I'm referring this client. I said I'm at a meeting for an hour. I'll touch base with the client and I'll let you know how I get on." So I always let them know how I get on.
Yeah.
So whether they've decided to go with me, whether it was just a bit of a dead end and they've decided to do something else. Yeah. So I'll always let the referrer know how I've got on.
Yeah. That is definitely the key, because when you're referring, you're recommending, and it's your personal brand on the line if someone doesn't follow up. So if you can build confidence with people, especially early on in the relationship, and by following up, texting them, a text is fine nowadays. Caught up with them, got to get another meeting with them next week. Even and then flicking an email, just email them a contract or whatever. So you don't need to be phoning them every 5 minutes, but a text or a quick email or something like that just gives people confidence in you that you're going to not ruin their reputation out there. Yeah. Cool. Well, we're
Manoli, I just want to jump in, Manoli, if I may. We're going through a process of heightening our Google reviews at the moment, and I'm not going to ask anyone to do Google reviews, but if you enjoy today's membership and feel like you want to do a Google review, we will send you out these 2 booklets. This one's on how to grow your rent roll. There's 43 tips on how to grow a rent roll, and this one here is the Fly to Pro Rentals, basically a growth booklet on getting to 1,800 managements from a company in Brisbane. So Taylor will, if you do a Google review within the next 24 hours, we will see that, and we will send you these 2 books as a courtesy thank you. So that's just an example. I thought I'd chuck that out there of one way of growing your rent roll. Do a webinar and then offer to provide a complimentary couple of books on how to grow your rent roll. So yeah, so it would be interesting to see what sort of reviews. I know we're right at 80 right now, so if it goes to 81, I'll know that somebody's done it. So, yeah.
Exactly. No, perfect. Thanks again, Nick. It's really valuable to have you on board. And that's us, guys. So thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you. Thanks for attending, and thanks, Nick. Cheers.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.